Long ago, in the 1700s, China was a very powerful and wealthy country. It saw itself as the center of the world, a great empire with everything it needed. The Chinese made beautiful things that people all over the globe wanted to buy. They produced fine silk, delicate porcelain, and high-quality tea. These goods were very popular in Europe, especially in Great Britain. British people loved drinking Chinese tea, and it became a very important part of their daily life. This high demand for Chinese products created a significant trade relationship, but it was a relationship that heavily favored China, which held all the valuable cards. The problem for Britain was that while they bought many things from China, China did not want to buy much from them. The Chinese believed their own products were superior, and they had little need for the woolen textiles or other goods that Britain offered. This created a big trade imbalance. To pay for all the tea and silk, Britain had to use silver. Huge amounts of silver flowed out of Britain and into China's treasury. This was a serious economic problem for the British Empire. They were losing their wealth, and they needed to find something that China would want to buy from them to stop this drain of precious metal. The British searched for a solution to this trade problem. They needed a product that the Chinese market would desire as much as the British desired tea. They found their answer in a powerful and addictive drug, opium. Opium was grown in large quantities in British-controlled India. The British East India Company, a massive and influential trading firm, saw a golden opportunity. They could produce opium cheaply in India and sell it for a high price in China. This would reverse the flow of silver, bringing it back into British hands and balancing their trade accounts while creating immense profits for the company. Initially, the opium trade was small. However, the British traders, with the support of their government, began to push the drug more aggressively. They smuggled it into China, often using corrupt local officials to help them get past the law. The Chinese emperor had already banned opium because he knew it was dangerous, but the ban was not very effective against the determined smugglers. The British traders did not care about the Chinese laws or the harm the drug caused. Their main goal was to make money and fix their country's economic problem. This decision to sell drugs on a massive scale would soon lead to a dark and violent chapter in history. As the British opium trade grew, the drug began to cause terrible problems inside China. At first, only a few wealthy people used it, but soon its use spread to all parts of society. Soldiers, government officials, merchants, and even poor workers became addicted. Opium addiction was a serious illness. People who used it lost their health, their jobs, and their will to live. They would spend all their money on the drug, leaving their families in poverty. The addiction weakened the entire nation from the inside, creating a social crisis that the government found difficult to control. The fabric of Chinese society was being torn apart by this foreign poison. The economic effects were also devastating. The British had succeeded in their plan to reverse the flow of silver. Now, massive amounts of silver were being paid by Chinese people to British merchants for opium. This caused the value of silver to rise dramatically within China. Since taxes were paid in silver, but daily business was done with copper coins, this made life very hard for ordinary peasants. They had to use more and more copper coins to get enough silver to pay their taxes. This economic hardship led to unrest and instability across the country, adding to the growing sense of crisis that was gripping the Qing dynasty. The Chinese government became extremely worried. The emperor and his officials saw that opium was destroying their people and their economy. They understood that the drug was not just a social problem, but a direct threat to the strength and stability of the empire. One dedicated official, named Lin Zexu, was chosen by the emperor to solve the crisis. He was known for being honest and determined. In 1839, Lin Zexu was sent to the port city of Canton, the center of the opium trade. His mission was clear. He had to stop the illegal opium trade completely, no matter what it took. Lin Zexu took his job very seriously. He acted swiftly and with great force. He arrested thousands of Chinese opium dealers and forced foreign traders to hand over all their opium. He collected more than 20,000 chests of the drug, a massive quantity. Instead of just storing it, he decided to make a powerful statement. He had his men dig large trenches, fill them with the opium, and then flood them with lime and seawater, completely destroying the drug. This act showed that China was serious about ending the trade. However, for the British traders and their government, this was seen as an unacceptable destruction of their property and an insult to their nation. The destruction of the opium by Lin Zexu made the British government very angry. The traders who lost their opium demanded that their government pay them back for their losses. More importantly, many politicians in Britain saw China's actions as an attack on free trade and a deep insult to British national honor. They argued that China had to be punished for its behavior and forced to open its doors to British goods. After much debate in Parliament, they decided to use military force. Britain sent a powerful fleet of modern warships and an army to China. This marked the beginning of the First Opium War, which lasted from 1839 to 1842. The war was a completely one-sided conflict. The British had a huge technological advantage. Their navy had steam-powered gunboats that were fast and heavily armed with modern cannons. The Chinese navy, on the other hand, still used old-fashioned wooden ships called junks. The British army was equipped with advanced rifles, while many Chinese soldiers used outdated weapons like spears and old muskets. The British forces easily sailed up China's rivers, capturing important coastal cities like Shanghai and Ningbo. The Chinese army and navy fought bravely, but they were no match for the superior military technology of the British Empire. The British military strategy was very effective. They did not try to conquer all of China. Instead, they focused on controlling key ports and waterways to cripple China's economy and government. They sailed up the Yangtze River, a vital artery of trade and transport for the empire. By threatening to capture the ancient and important city of Nanjing, they put immense pressure on the emperor. The Chinese government, seeing its inability to stop the British advance and facing economic collapse, realized it had no choice but to surrender. The war had clearly demonstrated the massive gap in military power between the industrializing West and the traditional Chinese empire. The war ended in 1842 when China was forced to sign the Treaty of Nanjing. This was the first of what became known as the unequal treaties. The terms of the treaty were very harsh for China. China had to pay a huge amount of money to Britain to cover the cost of the destroyed opium and the war itself. It was forced to open 5 of its ports to foreign trade, ending the old system of trading only at Canton. Most painfully, China had to give the island of Hong Kong to Britain. This treaty marked a humiliating defeat for China and was just the beginning of a long period of foreign interference in its affairs. The results of the Opium Wars were a disaster for China. The Treaty of Nanjing was followed by more conflicts and more unequal treaties with other Western powers, like France and the United States. These treaties forced China to open up even more, give away more territory, and allow foreign powers special legal rights on Chinese soil. The Qing dynasty was severely weakened, losing much of its authority and prestige. The wars started a period that the Chinese call the Century of Humiliation, a time when China was dominated and exploited by foreign nations. This experience created a deep sense of national shame and a powerful desire to become strong and modern again. The wars also dramatically changed the world's economic and political balance. For Britain and other Western powers, the victory opened up the vast Chinese market. They could now sell their goods, including opium, more freely and make enormous profits. This helped fuel their industrial economies and expand their global empires. China was forced into the new global system of trade, but on very unfavorable terms. It was no longer the powerful, self-sufficient empire at the center of the world. Instead, it became a weakened nation that other countries could easily take advantage of, fundamentally shifting the balance of global power from east to west. The Opium Wars were a wake-up call for many in China. They realized that their old ways were not enough to protect them from the powerful new technologies and ambitions of the West. This led to many debates within China about how to reform and modernize the country. Some officials argued for adopting Western military technology and science, a movement known as the self-strengthening movement. While these early reforms were not entirely successful, they planted the seeds for future changes. The humiliation of the wars sparked the beginnings of Chinese nationalism. a powerful feeling that China must stand up for itself and reclaim its place in the world. Even today, the memory of the Opium Wars is very important in China. It is taught in every school as a key lesson about the dangers of being weak and the importance of national strength and sovereignty. This history influences how China sees the world and its relationships with other countries, especially Western ones. The story of the trade, the drugs, and the wars serves as a powerful reminder of how global trade can be used as a weapon and how an imbalance of power can lead to conflict and profound transformation, shaping the destinies of nations for centuries to come.